In this episode of FUMO, our special guest is Munaf Ali. Munaf is the founder and CEO of Phoenix, the biggest homegrown crypto company in the region. We're going to learn about how Munaf embraces new opportunities, how he got into crypto, how a banker turned real estate entrepreneur dived into this emerging technology and built one of the region's biggest and best companies. Munaf, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ronit.
So Munaf, you have helped build and you run the UAE's biggest crypto company, biggest homegrown crypto company, correct?
That is absolutely true.
So tell us about it.
So it started in 2017. A very small warehouse in Dubai Investment Park. We started mining Ethereum. We were building our own little rigs. It was a 1 megawatt little site.
How did you get into the world of crypto? So you're sitting there 2017 with this little rig, but how did you get into this world? Are you like some sort of crypto geek?
Absolutely not. It was an opportunity that came by pure accident. I moved to Dubai in 2005 as a banker, evolved, found something else to do, built a number of hotels, out of Dubai. I built some hotels in the Caribbean. I built the Park Hyatt in St. Kitts, the Kempinski in Dominica. And it was during that time, this opportunity came up. I met this 21-year-old little kid who came to me to buy some real estate and get citizenship. And that's when everything changed.
So this was Munaf's Mr. Miyagi moment, right, Gaurav?
Why are you looking at me?
I don't know. Wax on, wax off. So tell us about how this happened. So you're sitting there in the office, in your old business, in your sort of real estate, citizenship business, and this kid shows up.
This 21-year-old kid turns up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I should take him seriously. He's in jeans, a ripped T-shirt, and he tells me, I need citizenship for me,
is like
my wife, and my kids. This was in late 2017.
Right.
It seems like a long time ago, but it almost is 10 years. If you think about
years,
it.
Yeah,
it's
7,
almost
8
that.
years.
Only seems like yesterday.
And in crypto terms, that's like 50 years, isn't
That's
it?
a
It's like,
So
yeah,
he
it is.
shows up in your office, like looking like a 21-year-old kid with no money.
Supreme all over his clothes, whatever.
I don't know.
Ripped.
Whatever
Yeah.
21-year-old kid.
That's what
Holes
do.
in his
Like,
jeans,
yeah.
holes in his T-shirt.
And then he says, Munaf, I need a...
Citizenship.
He needed my help.
He needs your help, yeah.
Yeah, he needed my help. So he wanted a new nationality, and that was one of the businesses I was in. So I tell him, look, you've got to pay this amount of money. You've got to give me this paperwork and documentation. I give him a quote. He writes a check and disappears. And I'm thinking that check's going to bounce. I'm never going to see him again. 2 days later, the girl from the back office turns up and she says, we've got a problem. I thought, I knew it, the check bounced. She said, no, sir, you haven't seen his bank statement. And she shows me his bank statement. The kid had 850 million dirhams in his account.
I'm sorry?
Hang on.
850 million dirhams
850 million dirhams
in 2017.
as a 21-year-old kid in jeans. So you're like,
Sorry.
okay, we have a problem.
Yeah,
And how?
So, now I'm having to call this kid, hey, do you want to come for a coffee?
So what's the story there?
So he turns up and I said, listen, I never asked you what you do because I thought I'm never going to see this kid again.
What's your source of wealth, sir?
Origin of
And that
funds.
was it. That was a KYC process.
Right.
I'm like, what do you do? He said, I'm in technology. I said, what sort of technology makes a 21-year-old kid this amount of money? He says, cryptocurrencies. I said, what's cryptocurrencies? He said, you don't know what's a Bitcoin? I said, no.
And then does he explain it to you?
He takes my computer screen, turns it around, and opens Zappo. And he gives me 1 Bitcoin from his account to mine.
Wow.
And it was $458. I will never forget. He transferred 1 Bitcoin to a wallet he opened for me, and he gave me 1 Bitcoin.
And he made you see how
And I
easy
said,
it was.
what's this? Is it PayPal or what is this? And he said, I'm going to change your life today, but you have to get me a passport.
Wow.
And long story short, he did change your life.
He changed my life. Well, I like to think I changed his life also.
Well, I mean,
I got him a new citizenship.
are you still in touch with him?
He lives in London in a nice big house in Mayfair.
Right.
And I created Phoenix. But I actually said to him, look, in order for me to help you do this, you need to give me another bank statement, which doesn't have this amount of money. He said, I can't do that. I said, nobody keeps all their money in one bank account. He said, I didn't say I don't have another bank account. I said, I don't have another bank account with less money than this.
Come on.
And that was the Mr. Miyagi.
No.
Where I said, okay,
hang on.
Enough's enough.
Hang on. I don't have another bank account with
less money in it.
That's incredible.
So that's when your journey into crypto began, 2017.
That's when it hit me. Work smart, not work hard, right? This kid had literally 2 people working for him, where I had hundreds of people. I'm having to fly from Dubai to the Caribbean every month, managing construction sites. And here's this 21-year-old kid, with multiples of...
Generational wealth many times over. Multiple generational wealth. Wow.
And let's not forget something. So if we say he had 4 bank accounts, each with only 850 million dirhams each, if you times that by 4, when Bitcoin was $458...
Please don't.
Let's remember where Bitcoin is today.
Wow. That makes your head spin. Yeah, everyone get your calculators out now and start doing math.
Or turn your iPhone sideways so you can see that many digits.
Yeah. I think you'll need a magnifying glass even then. Oh, my goodness.
So that's how it started. So I helped him get his citizenship. He told me of a number of coins I should invest in, and I did. The likes of your Dogecoin, your Ripple, all those coins, I put $100,000 in each one, and that just went to another level. And then from that point, we became friends. We started a small company called Phoenix. We took a little warehouse in Dubai Investment Park, and we were building mining rigs. We were buying graphic cards, motherboards, cables, fans, and making our own GPU mining rigs. And we were mining Ethereum.
So let's just pause there, because there might be some viewers, listeners, who don't know how Bitcoin mining works. At the time, Ethereum mining, now Ethereum proof of stake. So just walk us through that, Munaf. First of all, what is a Bitcoin, and what is Bitcoin mining?
Well, Bitcoin was created for nano payments, to transfer, money across the world to people very cheap and efficiently.
Yeah.
And, you can trade it up to 8 decimal places. So if I needed to send you $10, the SWIFT fee would be more than $10 across the world. So if I was to send you $10 worth of Bitcoin, the cost of that would be minimal. So Bitcoin was created for this, but in order for Bitcoin to be transferred, there's no SWIFT network. There is a Bitcoin network. So that is powered by computational or mining rigs that move Bitcoins from one place to another place and validate the address that it's being sent from and validate the address that it's being received to. So that's why people mine. And we get paid a reward for that. And we get paid in Bitcoins.
Right.
And there's only 21 million Bitcoins. There are a number in circulation.
Yeah.
And all those that are not in circulation get given out as rewards to people like us.
Right. So Bitcoin mining is a computational process where you need lots of computers and lots of energy to do this. And so walk us through setting up your sort of first mining rig in Dubai. And how did you go about it? So you had this kid who's obviously an domain expert, so he's helping you, or just tell us the story.
Well, we started off together. We took a small warehouse in DIC, Dubai Investment Park. And on one side, I had a car fabrication plant. On the other side, I had a dry cleaner. And in the middle, there's me with my little warehouse. And we put these racks up, and, we put these graphic cards, and we had a very small, very basic, but it was a data center. It was a warehouse turned into a data center.
Right.
And what actually happened one day, we had the electricity authority knock on our door, and I just so happened to be, on the premises that day. And they said, please open the shutters. We want to know what's going on behind these doors. We thought we're in trouble. I had a trade license, chip programming, supercomputers. But, I didn't know that, they have a heat map back at the DEWA offices, and they can see which premises uses what electricity. So we open nervously the shutters. The guy comes inside, and he can hear, 1,000 machines whizzing and making all these noise, and all these workers dusting and cleaning, all these rigs. And he said, what on earth are you guys doing? We said, it's a data center. He said, is this legal? I said, I think so. And at the end, he said, do you need more electricity?
Because you were consuming so much, right?
We didn't even have 1 megawatt. We had maybe quarter of a megawatt. But my bill, the gentleman from DEWA said, the guy with the car repair shop uses $30,000.
Yeah.
The guy on the other side has $10,000. You use $180,000 worth of electricity a month.
A month.
A month. This was in 2017.
Right.
So he said, do you need more electricity? To which I said, if it's possible. So they gave us, we paid DEWA, they closed the entire road, they dug up the road, they laid the copper cables, and we ended up with 1 megawatt of electricity.
And what does that cost you a month?
That was a lot more.
4 times. But I mean, is that the math?
But we were making so much money mining Ethereum there. But that time we realized that, look, if it's this, and electricity wasn't so cheap, you know, and it's hot in Dubai. So we were spending so much money cooling this warehouse. We decided to look elsewhere. So while being based here in the UAE, we thought, let's see where else we can mine that's crypto friendly, has cheaper electricity, you know, and a cooler climate. So we went to parts of Canada, Alberta, Winnipeg, Manitoba, where there's lots of oil and gas, crypto friendly.
Slightly colder than Dubai. Little bit, just a touch.
You know, and then we went to Norway, went to parts of the US as well, Texas, North Dakota, South Carolina, Iowa. And we did what we did best, which was, you know, we designed these little, you know, data centers and warehouses, and we started mining, you know, on a much larger scale. So we graduated from building our own mining machines. We found out that we can buy ready-made equipment. Because when we were mining Ethereum, we had to buy all the separate components. If we didn't have one component, we had an incomplete.
I mean, it came to the point, I remember, that rigs became so available for people to buy as an investment for a struggling dinosaur, which was called Kodak. Even at one point, I don't know if you remember it, but when Kodak was trying to do its ICO, which failed miserably, they actually had Kodak rigs. I don't know if you remember this. Yes. So you saw old Kodak posters reformatted saying, Kodak, do your mining rigs. And you're like, oh my God.
That's just crazy.
It's crazy.
But those graphic cards became gold dust.
Right.
We would send money to suppliers all around the world, and they would send the money back telling us that the prices change. And we didn't understand this. Right. So it was a big risk for us as a business because we were mining for ourselves. And I went to so what happened when I started Phoenix, I sold the real estate business. I sold my share in that business.
This is when, Munaf, 2017, 18?
End of 2017, after a few months of realizing, you know, my Mr. Miyagi moment, I sold the real estate business. You know, I wanted to work smart, not hard.
So in 2018, you're building this in a...
We were building sites in Canada, America, all over the world. And, you know, we learned that we didn't have to build... So instead of mining Ethereum, we switched to mining Bitcoin because we found ready-made machines and we partnered with Bitmain and we became their exclusive distributor here. And we were buying machines for ourselves. I was going to family and friends and telling them that, look, you know, I've got this opportunity where you can invest. Right. Every person that I sold citizenship to, every person who bought real estate from me now became, you know, my informal investor when it came to mining. Right. So we had a huge pool of clients from $50,000 to a few $1 million. And we're mining Bitcoins for these guys. Right. And nobody could believe it. The ROI was just phenomenal. It was 300% a year.
Now, roll forward to, say, 2024, 2025. Talk about the scale of the operation now from that one little unit, one little megawatt unit sandwiched between two, whatever. What did you say? What kind of shops were they?
A car?
We had a dry cleaner and a car fabrication plant,
And now, how big is your operation? I guess there are no dry cleaners.
We don't look
you
at
probably have a dry cleaner in the...
We don't look at sites less than 10, 20 megawatts now. Right. You know, so overall, we're close to 500 megawatts across the globe.
And in the UAE, down the road in Abu Dhabi, how much do you have?
We're very proud. We got the opportunity a few years ago. We had another knock on our door where we were asked why we don't have, you know, a bigger operation here in the UAE. You know, we're based out of here. We have offices here. We live here. I've been here since 2005. But we have facilities in Norway and Canada and America. So we explained that, look, it's hot. Electricity is expensive, you know, and we're not sure about the crypto laws. They said we can change the crypto laws. We may not be able to change the weather yet, you know, but we can also give you cheap electricity.
And which year is this now?
This was in 2021. Right. They gave us an opportunity.
So you literally got a knock on your door, virtual door.
We did. We got a knock on the door and we took a drive to Abu Dhabi and we explained exactly what it is we do. And they were so interested to be a part of this new era, and they asked us to build a facility, and that's what we did.
Wow.
and it was a facility like no other. I mean, it was only capped at the size that we built. So we built a 200, we designed, we built, and to this day, we operate the largest Bitcoin mining farm in the Middle East.
Wow.
In the center of
Have you
Abu
seen
Dhabi.
it, Gaurav?
No, I'd love to. I'd love to see a facility operating like that. I've only seen documentaries of
80,000
others.
square meters, 11 football pitches,
11.
Wow.
mined over 10,000 Bitcoins today, which haven't been sold.
Wow. And when you think about that, 500 megawatts,
250 megawatts in Abu Dhabi.
and the other 250 is the rest is globally. So when you're talking about 500 megawatts, are you powering, how many cities can you power? Or how many aluminum smelters do you power? I'm so curious how someone can comprehend as a layman.
What is 500?
What does 500 megawatts do? Do you have any sort of comparable in terms of infrastructure?
Talking, reasonable cities in this part of the world, it's a lot of electricity.
That's what it's unreal. Unreal. So you're powering a city effectively, globally.
And remember, you're using electricity 24/7. It's not like you turn it off when you go to sleep, or you turn it off in the winter when you don't need AC.
Yeah.
You need it 24/7.
And you need all this electricity for the computation, to keep the computers running.
Reasons to run the machines,
Yeah.
and in places like the UAE and other, you need to cool these things down.
Wow. There's a lot to digest. There's such big numbers there in such a short span of time, from value creation to opportunity, execution, building. In how many years? 2017 from ideation to 2018 to launch to now is nothing. I mean, 7 years, if you look at what Boeing has to do to produce some kind of revenue over 7 years, despite their backlog, they can't compete on that kind of revenue generation.
And when the UAE took an interest in what we do and what we were doing, it fast tracked things a lot. They opened a lot of doors for us. They saw that we were serious. We designed the facility, we built the facility, and we operated at 98% uptime. Lots of doors opened for us. They took an interest. They supported us fully, being a UAE homegrown company, the first tech or crypto company for sure to be out here. They helped us get listed in a record time. We listed the company on the Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange. We were oversubscribed 400x.
Wow.
And it was just something that we'd only dreamt of. All of our competitors are listed on US exchanges.
Yeah.
We were the first to be based out here. But what makes us different is that our US counterparties are all with facilities only in the US and Canada.
Yeah.
We have a footprint in Africa, Ethiopia, Oman, UAE, as well as Canada and the US, and we're always looking for new locations.
By footprint, you mean data centers and So the IPO happened when? Remind the audience.
5th of December 2023.
Right. So you're an Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange listed company.
We're listed on the ADX.
Right. So if people want to find out more information about the company, how do they do that?
Our ticker is PHX, and our website is phoenixgroupuae.com.
Yeah.
So I can go onto my WEO app and buy some stock.
You can. You mean you don't own some already?
Oh, look at that. Look at that. I had to meet the man in person first before I bought it. No. But jokes aside, it's an incredible story. Congratulations to you. And what I assume is you have some co-founders with you as well.
I do. I have one of my co-founders, Bijan. He's been with us from the beginning. He's much more the tech guy. I was a finance guy, ex-banker.
Right.
But he's been instrumental in driving the business together with me.
So I think what I'd love to do, Ronit, is I'd love to go down the rabbit hole of the business and what it does for potential people who would be interested in either just be educated or perhaps like myself, that's always a curious shareholder investing in companies. I mean, but there's obviously a personal story to this and a background to this. So I don't know if you want to go down that first before I start quizzing on the business side of things.
Jump in, Gaurav. Jump in.
So you started with mining and you're mining effectively for yourself as a company, but then there's customers who are buying from you and you've got the validation happening. What else do you do as a company today? Because you've set up your foundational bedrock, which has canvassed many countries, many places. You've gone public. What's the next sort of businesses or engagements that you're looking at doing now, or what are you doing now that we could learn about that the public can see or consume as either a business or an individual?
So look, most people may know us as a Bitcoin miner, but that's just one of the things we do. So we're the exclusive agent for the manufacturers in this region. So we were the first ones to open a retail outlet for the manufacturers. So when people wanted to buy mining equipment, and that's what helped us get to the scale that we have. People didn't have to go to China to buy from the manufacturer. They would buy from us because we had the exclusive distribution, but we actually had a retail outlet here on Sheikh Zayed Road, which we still have.
And you do the servicing as well as part of that, troubleshooting, guidance.
And we would actually help those who wanted to set up smaller mining facilities as well.
And is that still prevalent? Is it still?
It is, but it's become much more corporate and institutional. So when we started, it was something we were doing with friends. People would give me some money, and we would take their money, and we would buy the equipment. We would put it in different locations, and we would mine and give everybody a wallet, and they would regularly see their returns and what they were mining, and everybody was so happy. But gradually, the returns started to come down as the price of the underlying asset went up. So instead of making 5 Bitcoins, you made 4 Bitcoins, but it didn't matter because the Bitcoin price had doubled or tripled.
Exactly.
So there was an education process to everybody as well. They're like, well, we're not making the sort of Bitcoins we were before. But hang on a second, have you seen the price of Bitcoin? So, we were mining for ourselves, and it was a very informal thing, but we realized that it's becoming much more corporate and institutionalized. A corporate doesn't necessarily want to touch something that makes 300-400% a year because, at that time, was it a Ponzi scheme? Was it real? Is it going to be here in a year's time?
Correct.
But now people have realized, and you have corporates and institutions who become our clients, they don't have the time and energy and effort to go and set up a mining farm in parts of the world, be it Canada or America or Africa. They'll come to us and say, listen, we have an amount of money. We would like to get involved because you can buy and sell crypto. What we don't do is we don't speculate on meme coins and do things like that. We go to the core. Yeah. So we're part of the infrastructure. We actually build the network that drives Bitcoin transactions and things like that. But that's just one of the things. So we build these facilities, but what we do is very flexible. We see the future, not just mining Bitcoins, even though that's going to go on for maybe 150 years from now. But we build, the world has become a very digital place, let's say, right? The new commodity is data, and data needs to be processed, right? And that processing needs electricity. So the whole world is trying to grab electricity wherever they can.
Energy,
right?
Absolutely.
Everybody's rushing for sites that has electricity. So you can have a site that has no electricity, the land is worth nothing. But you can have, a few thousand square meters, but you have a power plant next door, you have a hydro facility,
winning.
You have a solar plant, you have a wind farm. Everybody wants that piece of land. Bill Gates said if by 2027, 2028, new sources don't come online, all the electricity is gone. There's nothing available. So one of the businesses we have is we look for sites where there's electricity for our Bitcoin mining facilities, but also, we're looking at the next thing, which is AI, data centers. So if you look at the facility we have in Abu Dhabi, it was the first of its kind. It's a completely containerized data center. There's no building. If you go outside, you'll see 250 containers outside in the desert, running on 250 megawatts. There's no air-conditioned building. You could literally pick up these containers and plonk them in another country. So that's what makes us unique, that our data centers are so mobile. So whether we're mining in a place where it's for Bitcoin mining, but we need to turn that facility into an AI or data center play, we can do that. So that's how we design all of our new sites around the world.
So it's a mega infrastructure play.
It is. People think it's Bitcoin mining, but it's an infrastructure play, and there's a lot more that goes into it. Long gone are the days where you can buy 2 machines, turn them on in your garage, mine Bitcoins and heat up your garage. Now it's not just about having access to the equipment. You need access to money and electricity. You need all 3 verticals for this to work. So it's become a very, corporate, institutionalized business where you have VCs and PE firms, funding data centers, not just for AI, but also for Bitcoin mining.
And what are your other ambitions when it comes to either revenue creation or opportunity creation from a service point of view for a business, or and you've got infrastructure play. Are you doing anything else granular further down?
We make a lot of investments as well. Being in this space for a number of years, we have very good relationships with a lot of the foundations.
So you have a CVC, you have
we have somewhat of a VC firm, so we get opportunities to invest in very early stage transactions, foundation deals that come along, which mature over a few years. So we've made a lot of money for ourselves, a lot of money for our investors also. So we're always looking for new opportunities as well.
I think
as the market develops, you have to be nimble.
I think that's very interesting, because a lot of the listeners we have, or people who are looking at this podcast today, are entrepreneurs. Or there are a lot of people who were previously yourself in corporate who are looking to work smarter, not harder.
If you met me in 2004, 2005, I would have told you I'm going to be a banker for the rest of my life.
Right. Yeah.
I had no idea what was going to come. I had no clue about building hotels. I mean, at the most, I played with Lego as a kid, right? But I did a long stint, and I did real estate development. And when I was a real estate developer, to me, that was all I knew. I've forgotten my days as a banker, didn't have a clue about what cryptocurrency was in 2017.
Right.
But when that opportunity came, that was my Mr. Miyagi, my Eureka.
I love that you coined this phrase, Mr. Miyagi.
I didn't coin it, but...
And to this point, I think we haven't even scratched the surface of this industry. We have a long way to go.
But there's this group of people now who will want to become Munaf.
Yeah.
And if they
it won't be a Miyagi moment, it'll be a Munaf.
It'll be a Munaf moment, right? And if they want to do it, what are you looking for?
Let's double Mr. Miyagi.
Let's double click on this thing you just said, where when you were a banker, you thought you'd be a banker for the rest of your life, and then you got into real estate.
Right.
But that jump, that's what makes you an entrepreneur. That's what makes you
the risk taker.
So walk us through how you go from being a banker to being a real estate guy, not knowing much about real estate, and then building a real estate related company, and then ditto real estate to crypto. What are the kind of, if people listening to this show or watching this show trying to think, is there like a formula, or what kind of tips can you give people of how do you do that? Because most people
stay in their lane.
Stay in their lane. Yeah. How do you do that jump, that kind of basically... where there's no almost
leap of faith, Indiana Jones style.
I would say one, finding something new that nobody else was doing.
Right.
It was about finding something different.
Different.
And finding something that I liked. So when I was a banker, because I was always fascinated by the world of finance. When I was at university, my friends are working.
This is back in London, right?
Back in London. My friends are doing evening and weekend jobs. Working at Virgin Megastore or Top Man or Top Shop. Here's me taking everybody's extra money and grant money and speculating it on the stock exchange.
Were you trading penny stocks or something?
I used to trade futures. I don't know if you know teletext. I used to watch
teletext.
I used to have my futures pager, and I used to trade the FTSE futures.
And he just said teletext and pager.
You do realize we're talking about the future, but we've just all dated ourselves.
We just
really
all dated ourselves.
Sorry,
is this like late 80s, 1990s?
In the 90s, I used to go to sleep with a little pager under my pillow and trade the markets. And I was doing this as a student. So
you have to tell everyone what a pager is now. And tell everyone what teletext is now.
I think we've lost everyone.
We've just gone. Half our audience
has lost the audience.
Has just clicked pause or shifted back to Instagram or something else.
The reason I got when I went into real estate, being based in Dubai, Dubai was booming in 2005 and 2006, but I needed something different. So the real estate I went into was a very niche market. I went into this real estate because it was like no other. People would buy real estate from me because I was able to give them a second citizenship. So I had a guaranteed exit to the real estate I was building. And hence brands like Park Hyatt, brands like Kempinski, these guys wanted to work with us. Because we were building a branded product. Everybody from this part of the world who had lots of money but had a citizenship that
a weak passport
that wasn't very strong would come to us. So I did that for a long enough period until I found the next big thing, which was cryptocurrency, and that came and hit me in the face like Mr. Miyagi.
So that jump into from banking to real estate to crypto, you're looking for something that's new and emerging, but there's also this idea of a big market, right? Because real estate, citizenship, crypto, these were emerging, but then they became big. So it's not just finding that it's new, because it has to become a big thing. But what kind of, I mean, is it intrinsic to Munaf? What is the,
No, I think the citizenship only worked because I was here. Had I known of that industry while I was in London, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Being in Dubai and the UAE, it's a melting pot, right? You have everybody from Asia, Middle East, Africa, Eastern Europe, and you see, the wealth that's here and the level of people here that would be interested in a product like that. It made it easy. And then the crypto space, first it was something that I hadn't ever heard of before, and then when I saw this kid and what he had achieved in a matter of years, I mean, he'd studied aeronautical engineering, he had no references, had no background, had nothing other than 4 bank accounts with a lot of money in them.
So opportunity is there. You can learn something new without having the same knowledge set. You can still learn something completely new. Yeah. And you can seize an opportunity and expand on it by quickly educating other people too. I mean, it's
about learning and doing, right? Because there's this thing about you're learning new things and then you're doing something with it.
And what I will say is that, my banking days, they seem like such a long time ago. Even my real estate days seem like such a long time ago. But crypto, which was only 2017, seems like yesterday. And real estate is a little bit dated. Banking has evolved and changed a lot as well. Sure. And banking is now turning into crypto and
well,
fintech.
I mean, in a way, like your Bitcoin mining, I mean, it's real estate and finance, right? I mean, crypto is basically finance.
I think you clocked it.
It's finance and technology.
Well, long gone are the days where people carry coins and banknotes, right? It's all on your iPhone now.
Well, they carry coins, but in digital wallets now. So what's next? Like, let's stop the camera rolling and tell us what's next.
I mean, you tell me. I mean, what other questions do we have? We have another 20 odd minutes or so.
No, but I mean, like, what's the next jump? I mean, how are we going to? So there's still, you said there's still a X number of years to go for Bitcoin mining, but where does?
I mean, look, I think
where does Phoenix get to? Also, more importantly, where does Mr. Munaf get to? Like, what's floating your boat now?
I honestly think we've only scratched the surface of the world of crypto. Look, I mean, if we say, if we say 50% of the world know what crypto is, out of that 50%, I would say 10, 20% are actually involved in crypto. So that makes your adoption, 5%, 10%? And we have all of this buzz. What happens when adoption goes to 20%? Twice of what we have now, right? I think we just are. And that's why when I say, look, real estate, old-fashioned, you can have high-tech buildings, but still they're just buildings, right? But the world of crypto is going to touch everybody at some point. The things like USDT, you can have people in Africa and, transacting in currencies. You're basically spreading, whether it's US treasuries or dollar bills, all around the world. Right?
So you still think there's a lot of opportunity
There's a long way to go.
In the crypto space. You're not looking for a new thing outside crypto?
I mean, not for now, no, not at all. I mean, look, 21 million Bitcoins. Forget the fact that 5 million are lost, right? But 21 million Bitcoins, if every millionaire in the world wanted one Bitcoin, it's not enough Bitcoins to give every millionaire one Bitcoin.
But we're at what, 19 million? How many have been mined so far?
Above 19 million have been mined. So everybody thinks, well, the balance are going to be, mined in a matter of years with maybe supercomputers and all of that. But that's not the case. Nobody's cracked it to this date. So it's going to take, 150 years. I don't know.
Are you guys getting into quantum computing? Are you always investing in the latest hardware,
rigs? We are always investing in the latest hardware and rigs and things like that. But we're not in the quantum computing space, but we are looking at these AI centers and facilities. We're trying to see if we can do something, a little pilot program here in the UAE, something that no one's done before, coming up with maybe a quantum, a supercomputer out here that can process and do crazy stuff. Like, you must have watched the movie Eagle Eye, right?
Of course.
Yeah. How this one little device can track Gaurav wherever he is in the UAE in 5 minutes. We don't need your wife calling out, have you seen my husband?
Luckily, I'm single.
We don't want to get into Gaurav's wives, right, Gaurav?
Please do not.
No, let's move on.
So interesting, because are you investing in those as well, or you're just adopting?
We are, like I said, it's become a much more corporate and institutionalized play. You know, in the earlier stages, people would give us money and they were mesmerized with 200, 300%. They're no longer as interested because the returns aren't 200, 300% a year. They're 20, 30, 40, 50% a year. But the corporates and the institutions are much more comfortable with these sorts of stable returns. So they come to us. You know, we have people, you know, with the likes of the large, you know, data center companies who understand that we know this business because we've been doing it from ground zero. You know, we're not just guys that have money or can use other people's money. We know how to build this stuff. We have people that have been with us since day one, from 2017, still working with us. I have people, when I left Citigroup in 2006, you know, I have people who I started the first business with still working with me to date.
I'm curious about that too. Today we talk about AI companies only having 4 employees, 10 employees, 12 employees, and being billion-dollar valuations. How many employees in Phoenix?
So we have a little over 200, but that's all over the world. So
that's
our head office,
admin,
that's
managers.
exactly. These guys manage our sites from Ethiopia to Oman to Abu Dhabi. And remember, you have shifts. Because these sites run 24/7. So there's a morning shift, a daytime shift, and a night shift because Bitcoin doesn't sleep.
So sorry, are we talking
all of that with just 200 employees?
And are we allowed to talk about what the market cap is of it? Must be there on the public data.
It's
right?
in the billions,
So this has been an awesome conversation, Munaf. Thank you for sharing so much about your journey. But let's leave it with maybe some tips for the particularly the younger audience out there. So imagine it's today, it's 2025. What are we, April something in 2025?
Yep.
April the 28th, we're recording this, 2025. And you are 21 years old. Not whatever you are now. You're 21 years old. What would you be doing? What would you, you know, with everything you can see in the world, AI, quantum, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, what would you be doing?
I think you have to embrace the way this world is changing with technology. AI.
Right.
AI is just shaping the world.
AI. Yeah. So you'd be all into AI.
100%.
Right.
You know, we'll probably all be cloned. You know,
It's like that movie with Bruce Willis, Surrogates.
I can be here without being here.
Yeah. Or you
You
can,
know, the iRobot movie.
yeah. Well, I was
Surrogates,
watching- what's it called? This Bollywood movie. I was watching it on the flight to New York. You get an AI girlfriend. You get married to an AI robot. Yeah.
There's a lot of that going
There's
around.
a lot of that.
I think they started with that movie She first, right?
Yes,
I
it's
think that's
a
what it is.
variation of that.
So are you waiting for the AI wife?
Oh I do.
Are we getting invited to the AI wedding?
The virtual wedding.
No, not the virtual, where you get married to an AI bot, because Munaf's clearly
Oh, yeah.
got the business plan.
that
Yeah.
what- is that-
I didn't know I'm getting married.
No, you're going to create the AI bots and he's going to marry one.
Okay. So do we get invited to the wedding?
That's the, yeah.
You get a virtual invite.
Anyway, this is degenerating.
Exactly.
Munaf, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you
today.
for having me.
It's been a pleasure.